Deep within the architecture of the INFJ mind lies their defining cognitive function, introverted intuition. This is not merely a psychological trait, it is a profound, almost cinematic ability to see the invisible threads that weave the future together. While the majority of the world makes decisions based on the immediate evidence before their eyes, reacting to the present moment, the INFJ makes decisions based on the future they already feel unfolding in their bones. They do not wait for the storm to hit to know it is coming. They feel the change in the atmospheric pressure long before the first cloud appears. To those on the outside, this behavior can be incredibly confusing. An INFJ might suddenly step away from a social situation that appears perfectly normal to everyone else. They might gracefully distance themselves from a charismatic individual who has not yet done anything wrong. People may call them overly cautious or detached, but time inevitably reveals the truth. Months or even years later, the facade crumbles, the toxicity reveals itself, and society realizes that the INFJ was right all along. This extraordinary foresight is the ultimate shield against manipulation. You cannot trick, deceive, or control a person who can clearly see your intentions before you have even taken your first step. The INFJ possesses an internal compass of pattern recognition, built upon years of quiet observation and deep, empathetic understanding. Much like looking at the seemingly calm surface of the Han River, an outsider only sees the gentle ripples reflecting the city lights. But the INFJ sees the powerful, deep currents flowing violently beneath the surface. They sense hidden motives and emotional inconsistencies instantly. If someone approaches them with an agenda disguised as kindness, the INFJ will smile, remain perfectly polite, but internally, they have already closed the gates to their heart. They do not need to engage in loud arguments or dramatic confrontations. They simply withdraw their energy. Their intuition guides them to safety, making them a force that is entirely impossible to manage or dominate. The true foundation of an INFJ, the bedrock upon which their entire identity is built, is their unshakable moral compass. In a modern society where values are often traded for convenience, where social approval, wealth, and status dictate the actions of the masses, the INFJ remains incredibly steadfast. They are guided by a profound sense of conscience and absolute truth. Once their soul decides what is right, there is no force on this earth strong enough to make them walk in the opposite direction. People often mistake the gentle, accommodating nature of an INFJ for weakness. Because they are polite, because they hate unnecessary conflict, and because they are infinitely patient, manipulators often believe they can mold the INFJ to their will. But beneath that calm, soft exterior lies a fortress of absolute iron conviction. They do not need to raise their voice to prove their point. Their power emanates from a quiet, terrifying certainty. If you attempt to use guilt, emotional pressure, or psychological manipulation to steer them, they will simply look at you with eyes that see right through the illusion. They may quietly endure for a short while to preserve peace, but inside, they are carefully weighing your character. Authenticity is the lifeblood of an INFJ. They carry a deep, soulful need to live honestly, mirroring the profound concept of Jong in Korean culture, an unspoken, deep-rooted emotional connection and loyalty that demands absolute sincerity. They despise deceit, even the smallest white lies, because dishonesty shatters the sacred trust that they require to build any human connection. When the world descends into chaos, when public opinion shifts, like the wind, the INFJ stands perfectly still. You cannot bribe them with promises of power, and you cannot frighten them into silence. They listen, they understand, but at the end of the day, they will only do what aligns with their soul. They move according to a sacred inner rhythm. And once they have taken a moral stand, they will hold that ground forever, even if it means they must stand entirely alone. There is a quiet majesty to the way an INFJ moves through life. They are the ultimate observers, rarely seeking the spotlight, never demanding applause or validation from the crowd. Because they are so quiet, the world constantly underestimates them. They appear reserved, wrapped in a blanket of gentle calm. But those who mistake this silence for a lack of power are making a grave miscalculation. The quiet nature of the INFJ is not an absence of strength. It is the absolute mastery of controlled power. This hidden depth is precisely why they slip through the fingers of anyone trying to control them. You simply cannot conquer what you do not understand. A manipulator may spend months thinking they have the INFJ completely figured out, believing they hold the reins of the relationship, only to realize in one shocking moment that the INFJ knew exactly what was happening the entire time. They do not reveal their full hand because they deeply believe that not everyone is worthy of accessing their inner sanctum. This beautiful mystery grants them an incredible advantage in life. They have mastered the art of observing without reacting, of absorbing the energy in a room without giving away their own. When chaos erupts and conflict arises, the average person panics or responds with raw, unfiltered emotion. The INFJ does the exact opposite. They become razor-sharp, perfectly clear, and fiercely focused. Because they have already processed every possible emotion beneath the surface long before the event occurred, their actions in moments of crisis are deliberate, calculated, and breathtakingly calm. This remarkable self-awareness gives them a natural, undeniable authority. It is a power born not from ego, but from radical empathy. They have zero desire to control you, but they absolutely refuse to be controlled by you. They know exactly who they are, and that quiet, unbreakable self-knowledge makes them a force of nature, a silent storm disguised as a gentle breeze. Perhaps the most misunderstood and legendary aspect of the INFJ is their mastery of the invisible boundary, often referred to as the INFJ door slam. To the outside observer, it appears sudden, cold, and incredibly jarring, but in reality, it is a masterclass in self-preservation and emotional survival. An INFJ is extraordinarily patient. They will forgive endlessly. They will offer second, third, and fourth chances, and they will pour their empathetic energy into healing those around them. But the moment they recognize a continuous pattern of disrespect, deceit, or intentional manipulation, a silent alarm goes off in their soul. The walls of their fortress rise, the drawbridge is pulled up, and the gates are locked securely forever. This decisive boundary setting is a profound act of self-respect. Much like an ancient city that has been repeatedly attacked, the INFJ learns that protecting the inner sanctuary is far more important than leaving the gates open to invaders. When an INFJ finally walks away from a relationship, it is never a sudden impulse. It is the final, heavy step of a long, agonizing private process. They have noticed every imbalance. They have tried to fix the situation quietly. They have wept for the fading connection. But once they realize that their emotional safety is constantly compromised, they choose peace over presence. They do not scream, they do not demand closure, and they do not seek revenge. They simply remove their existence from your world. To someone trying to control them, this is the ultimate defeat. Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions, on guilt trips and dramatic arguments. But the INFJ offers none of that. They leave you with absolute, deafening silence. They understand a fundamental truth of life. You cannot control how others treat you, but you possess absolute authority over who you allow into your sacred space. Their withdrawal is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate expression of power. It is their soul quietly stating, "You do not own me, I belong only to myself." The final and perhaps most beautiful reason the INFJ is the untouchable black swan of human behavior is their profound vision of contribution. An INFJ does not simply live to survive. They do not wake up every morning chasing wealth, social status, or fleeting fame. They move through this world with a quiet, burning sense of mission. They are guided by a calling that is infinitely larger than themselves. They harbor a deep-seated need to leave this world a little brighter, a little more honest, and a little more compassionate than how they found it. This higher purpose makes them utterly immune to the standard tools of human control. How can you manipulate someone who genuinely does not care about the superficial rewards you are offering? Money, flattery, intimidation. These things bounce off the armor of an INFJ because their eyes are fixed on a distant horizon. Their choices are never made to please the gallery. They are made to honor the soul. Think of the breathtaking miracle on the Han River, an entire nation rising from utter destruction, driven not by selfish greed, but by a collective vision of a better tomorrow for the generations yet to come. The INFJ carries that same miraculous dedication within their own life. They are willing to endure immense personal hardship if they believe it serves a greater, purer purpose. When life becomes unimaginably difficult, this inner vision serves as their guiding star, keeping them incredibly steady while the rest of the world loses its way. Because their direction is internal, they are often misunderstood as stubborn or aloof. But in truth, they are the most deeply connected beings on earth. They are connected to the very heartbeat of humanity. They become the quiet healers, the visionary writers, the gentle teachers, and the fierce advocates for those who cannot speak for themselves. They change the world not by forcing it to bend to their will, but by simply refusing to compromise their beautiful vision. Their presence alone shifts the atmosphere, elevating the consciousness of everyone lucky enough to cross their path. In the end, the INFJ truly is the majestic black swan of human behavior. They are incredibly rare, profoundly unpredictable to the untrained eye, and beautifully impossible to control. Their uniqueness is not a loud rebellion against society, but a quiet, breathtaking demonstration of emotional and spiritual depth. They experience life on an entirely different spectrum, feeling the sorrows and joys of the world with an intensity that logic simply cannot measure. They make their choices based on authenticity, completely ignoring the heavy pressures of conformity. They build invisible fortresses to protect their sacred energy, and they dedicate their lives to a purpose that reaches far beyond the boundaries of their own existence. If you have been fortunate enough to have an INFJ in your life, you have undoubtedly felt this extraordinary energy. You have felt that rare combination of perfect calm, unfathomable depth, and a quiet, anchoring certainty that changes the very air in the room. And if you are an INFJ listening to this, may you find profound peace in knowing that your difference is your greatest superpower. You do not need the world to fully understand you in order to leave a brilliant mark upon it. Your true value lies in your unyielding depth, your radiant inner peace, and your absolute devotion to truth. Society may never fully grasp the intricate beauty of the black swan, but they will never be able to forget the grace of your flight. You are the quiet strength in the storm. You are the reminder that the most profound power in this universe is gentle, silent, and wonderfully free. May your journey always be guided by the beautiful light of your own soul.